you're a polyglot, Doctor Stef. What's what languages do you speak?
Second of it. Fluently, I mean, as we can have this interview, I think we could have this interview as well as in English as in other six languages, most probably. I do speak English, of course, Spanish, German, French, Greek, uh, Dutch, and Arabic,
MashaAllah.
alhamdulillah. So these are the languages I could actually perform an interview and I could even have a lecture quite fluently. Other languages, automatically, when you learn a Romance language such as French, for example, which was my starting Latin-based language, you can easily learn Spanish. You can easily learn Italian, Portuguese. They're all closely linked to each other. The common language of origin is actually Latin. So when you know French, you can easily read a Spanish text and understand it. You can not necessarily speak it, but you can read the text. The same
That's right.
Portuguese, and so on and so on. So the one language brings the other. The commonalities that the languages have, the common groups that they belong to, lead and can open doors for you to learn another language within the same group. German, English, Swedish, Danish, and so on. They're all very common. They have the same Germanic background. So for that reason, it's easy to learn Swedish. For example, I could understand a lot of things in Swedish. I cannot speak Swedish, but I can understand a lot in Swedish. So that's how the one brings the other. That's how it is, basically.
Yeah, they always say German and English is it's similar in terms of kind of the approach of learning. But when I look at a German word that's like this big, the what I was told is it's really like
Yeah,
three, four words kind of combined together
that,
into a
exactly.
sentence, really.
That's right. That's right. I mean, the differences, I would say, yes, both of them have obviously Germanic roots, clear. And you can find a lot of grammatical elements that are very similar. However, as you said, if you want to say something in German, the words can be very long, and sometimes you have to cut them in chunks in order to make. It's very weird for an English speaker to understand the German structure and German language. So, I don't understand how close they can really be. I mean, for people to say I know German, so I know English, that doesn't go that easily
That's
because
what.
many of my peers at school had difficulties learning English. So that would mean that every
That's right.
German spoke good English, but it's not really true.
That's
That's
not
not the
true.
case.
That's right.
But there's a connection, yes.
And Dr. Steph, you made it your mission to kind of get the world to understand a little bit about the hidden heritage of Islam and founded the Lost History Project.
That's
Um,
right.
can you tell us a little bit about how the Lost History Project began?
Um, about 3, 4 years ago, that's when I started. I was working before as a teacher, as you correctly said in your intro. A teacher and a lecturer. I started with teaching languages already 25 years ago. Because my knowledge and my interest in languages, I thought that's something I want to make it a career. I wanted to become a language teacher, which I did. In the end, I did even my CELTA, which is a Cambridge certificate to teach English. And with this knowledge and being able to teach English, I had the chance to travel around the world. I've been to the Arab world, been to the UAE, have been to Egypt, have been to many other countries, Saudi Arabia, where I could stay for a year or two and teach in their schools. That was one thing, and I enjoyed it. But my background, my degrees are actually in political science and in history. And I was always torn between being able to find a job anywhere in the world as an English teacher and having to settle somewhere to make use of my degree, actually. I decided to come to the UK in the year 2001. And in the end, I decided actually to, after having worked at a college for a while, I thought I want to do something for the Muslim Ummah. I want to do something for Muslims in the West. Because I traveled a lot in the Western, in the Muslim world, and in the non-Muslim world, I could see the differences. I could see the commonalities. I could see that we Muslims in the West have a task, have an aim. We have something to do. We should have an objective, actually, and the objective should be to introduce Islam to the Western world. If we don't do it, who else? We don't expect Arabs and Turks and whoever to come over to the West to do that. So if we don't do it, if me as a Western European Muslim don't tell the Europeans about Islam, then who else is going to do that? So that's where I decided 3, 4 years ago to actually start this company. Um, and I had written a book which is behind me, The Islamic History of Europe, which basically gives you, first time, a very unique experience about the history of Europe, and from the perspective, from the Islamic perspective. How has Islam entered Europe? And you will not believe, but from the very beginning of Islam, already in the 8th century, Islam had been present in Europe already, especially in a place called Al-Andalus at the time. So Spain, Portugal, France. And that in itself I found fascinating. And I finished off this book some years back, and I decided teaching this book actually to wider audiences. That's the idea the Lost History Project came actually about. And until nowadays, alhamdulillah, now we offer workshops on stefkeris.com. We offer a lot of other lectures and talks with regards to Islam in Europe, and not only, also Islam in the Americas, Islam in Africa, and so on and so on. This is all a wider look into how Islam spread, in contrast to
That's right.
Islam being spread by the sword, as people say. So that's exactly the opposite, actually. And when people find this out, this myth and narrative and legend is finally put aside, hopefully. That's the idea.
That's right. And we're going to be discussing a bunch of these. So let's dive right into it. Again, Stef Keris.